Hi, my name is Allison Clark, and this video will be on how to collect data using Survey 123 for use by the Colorado Natural Heritage Program, USFS Rocky Mountain Region 2 staff, as well as Colorado Native Plant Society members. So the first thing you're going to want to do is download Survey 123 and add a new survey. And I've included instructions on how to do so in the Survey 123 Access Instructions document that is linked in this PowerPoint presentation. And I've also included CNHP guest account login credentials for our Forest Service and Colorado Native Plant Society partners. And from here on out, I encourage you to follow along in Survey 123. So I'm going to start out by talking about the pre-collection form for the Native Plant Materials Program. The purpose of this is for data collection of scouting operations, negative observations, ensuring seed viability, and estimating phenology. So for scouting, this is to mark potentially high-quality collection sites for future collection efforts. A few reasons you may scout but not collect if you are a botany technician or crew lead this season are: there are immature or empty seeds, pathogens are present at the site, or there's been a heavy impact from grazing. Negative observations are for areas that has previous data indicating the occurrence of a target species that is not presently there. So this can come from observation points that are old and from a population that no longer exists within that area. And it's important to track these so that future crews don't come back to that site. And finally, it's important to ensure seed viability and estimate phenology before collecting to make sure that the population is stable so that we can confirm species identifications as well as estimate seed production to ensure high site suitability. So let's go ahead and look at the form now. Okay, so this is what the pre-collection form will look like for the 2024 season. You're going to see that it starts with some basic pre-collection details, such as the date, the location, the coordinate source used, accuracy of that unit, and the datum. Notice that these values are all auto-filled for you. If you find that the accuracy is worse or better off than you currently are, make sure to fill that in. It also generates the latitude and longitude in degrees for your use later. And you're going to want to make sure you fill in the elevation in feet. Then fill in the ranger district you're collecting from. This can be found on your collection map if you're not sure. Let's say that we are in the Pawnee Ranger District for now. Notice that it'll autofill the forest name for you here, but that you're still going to need to fill in the area within the district, such as the trail name or the road that you're closest to. The landowner should always be the USFS for this project. Then make sure to fill in some location details so that somebody else could come back to that same site with ease. You'll want to include a landscape photo. This is helpful for the National Vegetation Classification at the end of the season and also gives collectors a good general idea of what the habitat looks like. Note that this next section is for scouting operations only, so if you're moving on to the main collection after this pre-collection form is completed, go ahead and ignore this section. But if you're just scouting, make sure that you're reading the descriptions and notice how you can autofill values based on what you put in here, and that you can enter both the common name or the Latin name. Please make sure you include notes and photos if you're unsure of the identification of a species, and note that you can enter unsure or not in database if you don't see the species that you're looking for. The same goes for species of significance, and this is marked as additional target species that might be at the collection site, invasives, noxious weeds, rare plants, and also make sure if you know there are characteristic species present to include them here. The next section is specific to species information. So this is going to be where you fill in the target species you're scouting for. Let's say that we're looking for Bouteloua gracilis and we found it at this collection site. You're going to want to then include an approximate area of the population in acres, and if there's any evidence of disturbance or damage while you're there. This includes a drop-down menu of common options, but if you're not sure, you don't see one that's there, you can also click Other and enter your own option. Then you're going to assess the population and seed dispersal stage. So the approximate number of individual plants that are present and accessible. This number does not have to be exact, just what you can see with your own eyes. So let's say that we're seeing about 5,000 plants within that 1-2 acre area. Then you're going to estimate the phenology of this plant. So let's say that it's too early for collection at the time we're scouting and that most of it is in vegetative growth or flowering. Make sure that your values from these questions all add up to 100, and then move on to assessing seed quality and availability. So you're going to want to select the most frequently occurring seed type, and you'll notice that there are a few options here. If you're unsure, you will want to perform a cut test on the seeds. There is an instructional video on how to do this on the Seeds of Success website or in the OneDrive folder under the Seeds of Success resources document. And let's say again that this is an immature seed, not ready for collection yet. In this next section, you'll notice that there are little turning arrows on the side here, and this will auto-populate values for you from previous collections. So these are from the 2023 field seasons averaged out, and you'll notice that we don't have an estimated number of stems per individual plant, which indicates that there's no previous data on the species seed count. So let's say that there was about 3 individual stems per plant, and then you hit enter, and you'll notice that this value down here pops up. So this is the viability calculation result, and you're going to want to make sure that this is over 20,000, as that's the number we try and shoot for every collection. And again, because we're saying this population is immature, we're going to say that there were less than 50 plants at the time of scouting, and that we are not collecting seeds on this trip. However, if the population was at natural dispersal stage, you'll want to hit over 50 and yes to the collecting seeds on this trip. You'll notice that a link to field maps pops up. Go ahead and click that, and then you'll want to follow the steps on the field maps and polygon creation introductory video. The final part of this survey is a primary key, and this is generated from the latitude and longitude as well as the date. You can see that I didn't enter the date here, so let me just go back and do that now. And this is our fully completed primary key. You're going to want to copy this value over to any polygons and collection surveys that you create for the future. There's also a section for general notes if you feel that there is additional information that would be helpful to collection crews. All right, so moving back into that PowerPoint presentation, let's just go ahead and move on to the collection survey. The purpose of this survey is to provide detailed documentation on our collection sites and the species we collected. There are 8 main categories to this survey, which include the collector information, collection data, field map specific data, habitat data, photographs, herbarium vouchers, specialist identification, and post-collection data. So now let's go ahead and look at this form. All right, so here's what it looks like when you open up that collection survey for the 2024 field season, and you'll see that it starts right out with that primary key that's generated from your pre-collection form. So you're going to want to make sure to copy that value and paste it into the survey, as well as any collection polygons associated with it. And it's important to note here that there will be one collection survey for every target species collected, even if it's within the same location, but only one pre-collection form per location. The next value is the seed collection reference number, and for Colorado Natural Heritage Program, this value will start with USFS R2, followed by 3 numerical digits. These values should be stored in an Excel file under the survey folder in the OneDrive. For Colorado Native Plant Society, your values will start with CONPS1, followed by your unique collection number. The next value is autofilled by relevant data, and this includes the target species collected, the ecoregion, the provisional seed zone, the ranger district, and then the date. The date collection started is auto-populated by the time that you open the survey up, and the date collection ended will need to be entered at the completion of this survey. There's a value for recollection if you're coming back to a site that was previously collected from, And then you will need to include the original seed reference number for that collection. It's important to document who collected where and when, so make sure to include your last name and first initial on each form that you create. And it's also important to document what collection technique you use to limit the amount of bias in collection and also just ensure we have a consistent method. Then for collection data, you're going to start out with the collected species. So let's go back to our example of Bouteloua gracilis. And we're going to say that we collected it from the plants. This should be how we collect most of the times. And the number of plant samples will be the amount of plants that you collected from. So let's say on this trip, we were able to collect from 250 individual plants. And the number of plants found is that approximate value that you provided on your pre-collection form, or if it's changed since your pre-collection form, go ahead and re-estimate the amount of plants that are in that population. So I believe our original value was 50,000. Then you'll include the average plant height in feet, as well as any field notes that might assist in the identification of pressed specimen, such as note the curliness of Bouteloua gracilis, or if it's something like Dalia purpurea, note the color of the petals. Then you'll fill in data that comes from your field maps map for collecting under the layers. So for ecoregion, high plains, since we're in the Pawnee National Grasslands, and that ranger district will be that Pawnee Ranger District. And let's say that the provisional seed zone we're collecting from is 10 to 15, or sorry, 5 to 10 semi-arid. And the geology or the underlying parent material, again, this is from that collection map layer, we might say is sandstone. Now, all of these values that you just filled out here are what are going to generate that auto-populated value at the top. So you'll see that now you have this unique USFS collection ID. All right, so moving into the habitat data section of this survey, you'll see that that dominant vegetation and other species of significance section pop up again on this survey, and go ahead and fill that in if you did pre-collection on the same date or if you're just collecting in general. So let's say that the majority of this landscape was made up of Bouteloua gracilis. Remember, that's a plant that either exceeds 50% of the layer's total cover, or if it's codominant, it's between 30 and 60% of that same layer. So let's say that there was also lots of cacti here. And finally, that there was a significant amount of purple freon. And note here that spelling is important, but you can include both common and Latin names for plants. Note that there's also the section for notes and also species photos if you're unsure of the identification. And then also include other species of significance. This could be other target species that you collected or saw at the site, any characteristic species, which is defined in the National Vegetation Classification introductory video, any invasives or noxious weeds, as well as rare plants. So really the catch-all. So let's say at this site we also saw some Buchloe dactyloides. And at this point, it's important to note that this list is slightly outdated, so it's good to know the synonyms of some species, like the fact that Buchloe dactyloides used to be in the Bouteloua genus. Let's say we also saw Bromus inermis. All right, and then something that's really important is to make sure that you have at least 5 associated species. So that's total species that you're marking in these two categories of dominant and other species of significance. Then there'll be a question about modifications since the last time you created a pre-collection form. So if you came back on a previous date and saw that there was new grazing that wasn't there before, you can go ahead and click yes and then fill in grazed domestic for that. Okay, and then we have landform. So this is a description of local topography, and there's another introductory video that's dedicated specifically to landforms, so make sure you check that out as well. And since we're in the high plains, we're just going to fill this out and say that we were in the plains. Then the estimated slope, and the aspect, and the soil texture. Soil texture is estimated, and there are videos from Seeds of Success previous trainings that provide you with resources on how to determine soil texture while you're in the field. Let's say that we were at a sandy clay site. The next section is dedicated to photos. So these are going to be the 3 reference photos that you take for every single collected species, so every single survey that you create. You'll see that it is auto-populated with the target species USDA code, what organization was collecting it, and the collection number. And then you're going to fill out these values, A, B, C. So landscape photos are photo A, individual plants are photo B, and the material collected is photo C. For every collection, you're going to want to make sure to generate herbarium vouchers. So you're going to want to have at least 2 for high confidence collections and 3 for medium to low confidence collections. So let's say we're pretty confident on the fact that this is Bootaloo gracilis, so we only collected 2 on the date that we were here. And the herbarium that we're currently storing them in is the working herbarium within the Colorado Natural Heritage Program office. And then the confidence level you have in the species identification. Then there is a section for specialist identification. This can either be filled out in the field or on a different date if it was identified by a specialist on a different date. But let's say that we had Jessica Smith with us on the day of collection. So you'll fill out last name, first initial for this. And then since she was in the field with us, we'll select that option and today's date. Then there will be a checklist to make sure that you filled out this form correctly. So let's say that we do have all of the photos we need and at least 2 herbarium vouchers. We made sure that all the bags used for collection were properly sealed and labeled inside and out, and that all of the required fields on this form were filled out. These next things are for filling out outside of the field, as you can see here, so you won't have to worry about any of this while you're in the field. But before you finish this survey, make sure you go back up to the top and fill in the date collection ended with the current time. And that is it for this survey. Okay, let's say that you've generated now that pre-collection form as well as the collection survey, and you need to view your data. There are 3 places you can do this, the first of which being from the ArcGIS Survey 123 website. This is the preferred place to view data as it's easy to navigate. You're able to extract photos and forms from this mainframe. It's good for data analysis, and you can edit those submitted forms. The next place you can view it is from the ArcGIS online website. And this is good if you're going to cross-reference where your polygons and surveys and all of those other feature layers are. And finally, you can also view this in the collection map on Field Maps if you're out there scouting collection areas. And that's it on the Survey 123 instructional use video. Thank you so much for watching.